Welcome into Extreme Talk, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com, request your new patient appointment online, $20 off. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. We are fueled by Fairlife Core Power Protein and financially supported in part by First Horizon. Well, welcome in, everybody. We got some new changes for you. And we got some new change for you.
Welcome to everyone watching around the world.
Time for us to get started. Welcome to everyone watching around the world.
He interrupts me during
Spencer
my intro.
Thompson alongside James Shannon as he interrupts me during my intro as he always does.
It's
a
tradition.
It's a tradition unlike any other.
Welcome
the Masters
to
on CBS.
Extreme Talk. We got some
Welcome
new, interesting
to
changes
Extreme
for you
Talk.
that,
We got some
we're gonna
new
be showing in
interesting
just a few
changes
moments.
for
See
you
there,
that
you
we're
don't
gonna
want
be
a
showing in
close
just
up
a
of
few
my
moments. You
face,
see
but
there,
they're getting
you don't
one
want a
right now.
close up
It
of
is,
my
but
face.
That's
but
terrible.
They're getting one right
We got
now.
a,
It is,
yeah,
but
let's fix
Here,
it.
let's
we
fix
got
that.
a let's fix it. We got
There
a
we go.
two camera angle set
Just
up.
to-
Maybe
just
just
to
a close
balance
up of
it out.
James's face.
No.
just to balance it out.
aligned,
Just to
to
have
see
everything.
there it is.
There's
Properly
the face for
aligned.
radio.
So see,
there it
there you
is.
go.
There's the face for radio. You just saw my face
there,
for
but
radio. So I mean, just went
Get a
from
nice
there.
up
but-
close
yeah.
shot of this Amish chin
Armless
strap I
chin
got going
strap.
on.
Oh yeah, the
Amish
chin strap.
Amish.
I've heard that term before,
Amish
but
chin
it
Amish
fits.
chin strap.
Haven't heard
It
that
works
term
pretty
before,
well.
but it
It
fits.
works pretty well.
It
It
works
does.
pretty
It
well. Very
works.
well. But,
It works pretty well.
very
this
well.
is just part of some of the new transition
this is just part of some of the new transition things we're doing. We're excited to test some of the things out of the Jamboree this weekend. We'll get to that in a little bit. But
ways that we are
just
innovating
one of the many ways that we are innovating and trying to change.
Been
things
trying to
for
get two
better.
cameras for 3
years at this
years.
point.
Yeah, 3
And thanks
years
to
at this
these,
point.
and thanks to some of these great people that
Oh,
Spencer
yeah.
just mentioned.
Yeah, it's
Now
to
it's
the
happened.
great sponsors.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
special
Yeah.
shout out, of
It's,
course, to
to
First
the
Horizon
great
for coming
sponsors
on,
and,
coming on
special
board
shout
this
out, of course,
week.
to
We're
First Horizon for
really
coming on
excited,
coming on board this
had
week.
Great
We're
interactions
really
with all the
excited.
people over there, and
Had
great interactions with all the people over there, and
particularly
shout out to Yolanda Green, who's the president for the Rutherford County region.
First Horizon in general, they
love going to First Horizon in general. They love going to First Horizon Park too. National Sounds game, that new stadium that was just built. Been once. How many times did you go to Greer Stadium? Been once. How many times did you go to Greer Stadium? Because we usually.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah, because we usually.
I loved Greer.
Yeah,
and I don't have
I
a
would
beef
hope
with
not.
First Horizon.
I would hope. Yeah, full disclosure.
I would
James,
hope
no
Greer
beef.
was
I would
so-
hope so. Full disclosure. James, no beef with First Horizon.
Greer was so traditional. There was so much tradition in that ballpark.
Oh yeah.
But First Horizon's great. The
Oh, yeah.
one time
Park's
I've been
great.
there, had a great
Food and
time.
everything, but,
Yeah, their
special
park's
thanks
great.
to
There you go.
First
Food and
Horizon
everything,
for coming
but,
on board. Special thank you to First Horizon for coming on board for sponsoring us for the 2021 season. First bank that we've ever had as a financial institution, and especially a financial institution that used to be First Tennessee, but they decided to change their name because they're all within the Southeast in several different places. They're actually based out of Chicago, I believe. But yeah, thank you to First Horizon. Thank you, of course, to Fairlife Core Power. Thank you to First Horizon. Thank you, of course, to Fairlife Core Power Protein for sponsoring us, and GracePointe Healthcare. Only other great sponsors. All right, well, some news dropped this week. All right, well, some news dropped this week that nobody was really expecting. Some of the inside sources I have gave me a little preview of how it may have happened, but I didn't think it was going to happen. We were given a heads up.
We were given a heads up.
Yeah, we were given a heads up, but we, of course, didn't want to say anything until things were confirmed. But it's official. Zion Christian Academy is now an 8-man football. In the conference, then out of the conference, in the conference, then out of the conference because of board situation, and then board itself saying no, and then back in from what I heard, a last-second convincing argument from the TSIAA board.
For the record, I've predicted this for 2 to 3 years that they need to make the move. I've said, you guys, come on. Come play 8-man. It'll help your program. You know, it's something that needs to happen. And every year it's like, okay, they didn't move. Okay, they didn't move. And then here we are all of a sudden.
No, of course you love it. And we love it.
I love it.
No, of course you love it, and we love it as well because anytime you have a school that is joining an 8-man football, especially when from your prediction the last several years they needed to make the move because of the low numbers and their lack of success has a negative connotation to it. Lack of success has a negative connotation to it, but just looking at the fact, Zion is not at a winning season in the last several years. So it was a move that made the most sense for him. It's just like when Ezel Harding lost in the first year with Coach Dustin McGee, and they finally decided to make the move to 8-man football.
And I mean,
paid off for
Providence Christian.
I would say.
And I mean, Providence Christian.
I would say it paid off a little bit.
And Providence Christian,
in all their other sports,
being in the TSSAA for so long in all their other sports, never having a varsity team, finally starting
football is the way to go.
More schools are realizing 8-man football is the way to go, and Zion is just the next one in the path to making 8-man football legitimate across the rest of the country. And now for Zion Christian, it'll be interesting to see how they compete, especially taking over Riverside's schedule.
Right, and obviously they brought in a first-year head coach, Jeff Jordan, coming from Innsworth, and didn't know what he would bring to the table. I've gotten a chance to talk to both him and Coach Boyd, the athletic director. Great conversations. They're really excited about this move, and I'm excited about the move for them, to see what it does for their football program. I think it's going to do great things, and I'm excited about having them in here.
We sent them our coverage guidelines. There's going to be a conversation this week. More than likely, we'll be covering them because they're especially a new team on the block. Give those kids the exposure they deserve and such. But it'll just be a conversation we'll have this week with their athletic director and administration to make sure everything aligns.
With them being out,
Riverside Christian with them being out, that was the last second they wanted to, at least from the sources that I talked to, the league wanted to not take away games from those schools that scheduled Riverside Christian Academy. More so, they wanted to fill that gap that was going on with the rest of the league, and particularly the South teams. So they filled that gap, and they were talking to schools potentially about it. And then Zion Christian, I guess last second, I believe it came down to numbers. So throughout their summer workouts, they had maybe 11 or 12 players show up. So
I think their total they're sitting at right now is maybe 14 or 15, somewhere in there.
14, 15.
Which is pretty typical. I didn't know this. I actually found out this week. So GAPS, which is the Georgia association that handles 8-man football, Georgia Association of Private and Parochial Schools.
Okay.
They have an 11-man branch and an 8-man branch. I didn't know this. They require 8-man teams. The cap is at 17.
Oh,
you cannot have more than 17 players and play 8-man.
Yeah, the only cap that's on that for the TSIAA is if it's a co-op.
It's a co-op.
25.
Right.
So even that. So if you have your own brick and mortar school, you can have as many players as you want. If you're not co-op.
GAPS caps you at, and I think that's the only one I've heard of that caps you. But yeah, I mean, caps you at 17.
That's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Maybe we'll start covering some Georgia teams going into the future and such. I don't know about this season, but maybe in future years.
We'll have to see.
But, the interesting tidbit about Zion, and this was confirmed by the assistant executive director. They are not playoff eligible. So Riverside was going to be eligible. So it's the bottom team from the South is going to the Division II playoffs, and the bottom 2 teams from the North are going to Division 2. So it's interesting to think about that, because again, we have a system where that's what was potentially going to happen last year, right before Sacred Heart was declared ineligible for the playoffs due to the players they picked up because of COVID restrictions and trying to field a team and not drop any games. So for now, what we're looking at is bottom 2 teams from the North are headed to Division II, and the bottom team in the South is heading to Division II. So it's 4 teams in the South eligible, 5 teams in the North eligible. So I don't know, James. It's very interesting to think about, because you wonder very much. People say all the time, football is a different sport, or what the argument that has been heard from the TSIAA board. Their argument is, well, we have to keep the standard across all of our sports. We have to keep it the same with Division II championships and such. But again, this seems like a situation where if you're just going to have 3 teams participating in, or even 2 like last year, why continue to hold that Division II championship, especially because you're giving an incentive for teams who want to call themselves a state champion. All they have to do is just lose their division games, then win 1 game at the end of the season, and then they could call themselves state champions.
Sorry, by the way, I was checking your audio. They said your audio was echoing.
Fixed it.
There you go. Cool. Okay. So here's the thing.
He can look on the camera now.
I'm going to address these people out here, okay? Football is not like any other sport. Oh, that looks bad. Football is not like any other sport, okay? It's not basketball where you can play 5 or 6 games in a day between a couple teams, or a team can play a doubleheader in a day and it doesn't affect anything. Baseball is the same way. It's not football. No sport is football, okay? You cannot you think the SEC is looking at Texas and Oklahoma and going, yeah, you know what? Football's just like no. Football is a different sport than everything else, okay? You do not need a Division II in football if there's going to be 3 teams playing for it and it's your 3 teams that have the worst record throughout the season. It is ridiculous. This conference keeps making backdoor deals and behind-the-scenes moves and votes and agreements that affect people, they affect parents, that those parents don't know about these decisions, and one day it's going to come back to bite them where the sun don't shine, and they're going to look like the south end of a northbound horse. It is ridiculous to have this Division II championship. It's ridiculous some of the moves that are being made, and I don't know who from the board listens to this or who hears this. I don't care. I hope it gets back to everybody. It is ridiculous some of the stuff that's happening. Let's fix it.
I think, and one of the arguments that was given, one of the justifications that was given when they introduced Division II is that, well, the TSSAA has multiple divisions and they have multiple state championships, so it's not uncommon. But again, the standard is roster size. The standard is that they decide that preseason, like James's predictions, which we'll get to in a little bit. But they decide
I like that.
They decide
nice
it.
Segue.
They decide it preseason. You're going based off of win-loss record, and if you want to give players something to play for, that's fine. We're all in agreement of that. You want to give the players enough games and motivation to play, but put them all in the same playoff bracket, or set up the divisions by roster size prior to the season. If you want to hold the standard of the TSSAA in that, set it in a way that is uniform and consistent, instead of you don't know until the end of the season, and then you have case like last year where Riverside Christian, they only beat Franklin Classical twice. Did they get any other wins last year?
Hang on,
trying to make sure, but at least in conference record, they only beat Classical in their division, and they beat them again in the Division II championship, and they could call themselves state champions.
And this is not dogging on Riverside.
Of course not. No,
no.
Again, when saying this, it's the system we're judging. And unfortunately, it has been taken in the past. It's been taken as trying to undermine what the players have done in the season. It's not any of that. It's that the system itself set up is incorrect, and it's set up in the wrong way to give players something to play for, give them motivation.
I'm all for giving players something to play for.
It's just set up in the incorrect way at the time, because especially we talked with some players on both of the teams last year from Riverside and Classical. Both from the players, at least I talked to, they didn't want to play in a Division II championship. They didn't want to participate in that game, especially with a month break.
And think about this. You play that Division II championship game, which, for all intents and purposes, means nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it doesn't mean nothing. I'm saying when you look at the broad scope, okay? Let's say you play basketball. You're really good at basketball. You got a chance to get a scholarship, and then you get hurt in that game.
About injury, yeah.
It kind of defeats the purpose. It off rails now. Now you have to rehab, and you're not going to be able to be at your best for basketball. When you could say, okay, you know what? This football season wasn't what we wanted. It is what it is. Let's move on to the next sport.
Yep.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that with football.
By the way, Riverside last year, they were 4-4. Mm-hmm. They did beat Lighthouse Christian.
Okay.
They beat Classical. They beat Providence, and they beat Classical again.
Yep. So if you regular
they beat
season
Providence twice.
Season record, they were 3-4. They were under 500,
right.
And then they were at 500, and they can call themselves state champions. That's where the system needs to be revised.
And at the same time, then they lose to the Division I conference champions, 28-6.
Yep. That was Frank.
Which actually isn't that bad.
I mean, they competed
relatively, and I
think we were at that game.
They did lose a game 86-66,
which that one was close, and they had some good competition. But again,
close being a relative term.
the system.
Close being a very relative term.
Yeah, again, the system needs to be revised. So at least the way it stands,
you cannot treat football like any other sport.
The way the system stands right now, it's going to be the bottom 2 teams in the North and the lowest team in the South. On the flip side, though, for the TSIAA, it does give a motivation to the 4 teams who are eligible, which are, as far as we've heard, Grace Baptist is eligible. And if they're not, then it's the bottom 2 teams in the North.
What we've heard is Grace is eligible.
Yeah,
so
from what we've heard.
We're going to roll with that. Zion is not.
So Grace is eligible. Franklin Christian is eligible. Lancaster Christian, Providence Christian are eligible, to my knowledge. That gives a motivation because the teams are going to look at each other and say, hey, wait a second. Only one of us is going to be out of the state championship. It's not going to be me. So that gives them another big motivational factor in that for, hey, let's fight to the finish for getting into the playoffs.
Exactly. It makes you want to bang your head into a brick wall.
But at least for the North, 5 teams. So and Classical being moved up to the North as well, so that changes the dynamic. So now here's the question I bet you're all wondering. Well, which teams are going to go to the Division II playoffs? Which ones are going to have struggles and such? Well,
are you gonna keep track of what the final records are and then make a bracket?
You have track of the final records. You could make I could probably do bracketology if you don't want me to calculate that stuff. But,
so how about at the end of this, okay. I give you all the
standings,
and then you create a bracket off of it.
Yeah, I'll have to go by individual games on what they go with, because you know how much of a headache it is in the studio before as the weeks go on. Whenever I'm giving you the playoff bracket, because again, there's only 2 tiebreakers now, and the second one's a coin flip. Another system that needs to be placed.
Do I want McDonald's or Subway? That's the only thing a coin flip should be used for.
You're absolutely right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our time-honored tradition. So the Christian Community Jamboree. Let me just give a brief insight to the Jamboree, and then we'll get into your predictions. So we have been given documentation of who all is participating in the Jamboree. It is the CCS 2021 Jamboree. We have Christian Community, Ezel Harding, Franklin Christian, Franklin Classical, Grace Baptist, Lancaster Christian, Providence Christian, South Haven Christian, the Tennessee Heat, and Zion Christian. So no Lighthouse. And I believe
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and Lighthouse isn't at the Jamboree, which usually they used to host a Jamboree, and they stopped hosting it in 2018. But yeah, Lighthouse is participating. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because of having to recruit players the first week of the
supposedly
school year
they had plenty of players.
Maybe they're trying to focus on not having any injury or things like that.
I've driven by their practice. So they have a whole lot of kids out there.
Not sure what the reason is. Great to see. Yeah, not sure what the reason is. I'm sure Coach Sean Bell will tell us at some point. But maybe he's going to do a scouting report on the other teams. Maybe he's focusing on that. Yeah,
but these other coaches that aren't
playing,
they're all
going
to be doing the same thing.
Yeah,
they're going to have all their cameras out there recording.
Right. So will we. We'll be there testing our equipment. We won't be broadcasting it, but we will be testing out all of our equipment. It'll be a dry run for all of us and all the other wonderful people who are on board this year for.
You see one of them in our TikTok.
Yep, one is in the TikTok. That's Audrey Green. So, all right, now Jamboree. That's taken care of. So, yes.
Can I talk about the Jamboree real quick?
Yeah, if you want.
I absolutely love the fact that they put the Tennessee Heat and FCA playing each other. I love it.
Yeah, I think every team is playing someone twice or once. Or something like
so CCS will play on night 1. CCS will play Grace Baptist and Lancaster.
Yep.
Night 2 they'll play the Heat and then close out with South Haven, which that's kind of a tradition. Mm-hmm. Last game of the Jamboree, South Haven CCS, Battle Robertson County, Battle 76, whatever.
Yep.
So Grace will play CCS and the Heat, and then the Heat will play obviously Grace and FCA. I love that. I absolutely. Yeah. I'm here for it.
That's gonna be good, even if it's preseason and such. There's still, there's some seniors that have graduated from both programs and everything, but that's essentially the state championship that we didn't get, but it's a state championship that some people wanted to happen. So uncontested state champions against the TSIAA 2021 or 2020 champions.
So night 2, Providence plays Zion. Mm-hmm. And then Zion turns around and plays South Haven, which those two play the next week, next Saturday.
Yep.
up in Springfield. So that'll be a cool little preview. And then Providence, Zion. They've never played each other in football, obviously. I believe they played other sports against each other. So that's kind of a cool look of two TSSAA schools that are playing 8-man now playing each other. So
yeah,
but I don't know. My highlight of the whole jamboree will be over after quarter 3 is what they're calling it. That Tennessee Heat FCA.
So
I might not be able to help with any of the equipment. I'll just be watching that.
You may just be enticed.
Both teams are bringing back a whole lot of guys.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of stuff. And speaking of a lot of stuff, it's time for Mr. Shannon. It is time for your signature as he takes a big gulp of water here to clear out the vocal cords. It is time for the
cut a promo on all these teams.
2021 James Shannon Index.
So before we
predictions.
Before we get started, I wanted to do something. Okay, I wanted to run down through. Okay, so actually, what I'll do is as I talk about each team. Let's do it. As I talk about each team, I'm gonna after I'm done picking game by game, I'm going to give what I think the final record will be, and then we will look back at last year. And we will say, okay, I had them picked at this. They finished here, and let's compare how off I was, because I believe it was 50% of the teams I was within a game of a win or loss, somewhere in there. Okay, so first team on the list looks like CCS.
Yeah. At least we're going in alphabetical order.
Used to be Bowling Green.
By the way, the helmet schedule that will be released.
Working on it.
That will be released in about a week or two's time.
I actually just got a text about that. So.
Yep. So that'll be released pretty soon, and you'll be able to follow along. We're organizing them no longer by divisions. We're organizing them by the teams we cover in alphabetical order. So we start out with Christian Community School out of White House, Tennessee.
All right. So, and I'm assuming you've got the schedule pulled up.
Yeah. Yep. I got the
so
spreadsheet.
You read off the game. I'll read off what I've got them doing.
Yep. We got their opening game is on August 13th, where they host the Tennessee Heat.
I have got them taking a big, fat, juicy 90-degree L to the Tennessee Heat. I think the Heat bring back a lot of the guys from last year. They've got a couple things to work on. But when you look at CCS's roster, they've lost Josh Madden from last year, one of their defensive end that was really good. They also lost Seth Garrett, Jacob Downs, and they've got a bunch of other guys that need to step up. But then when you look at that game last year, the playoff game against Lancaster, there was no stepping up. It was 40-0, I believe, if I'm not wrong.
Something like that.
Hang on. Let me verify. I think it was 40-0.
Yeah, you got to have all those Max Preps pages open. You got to make sure.
40-0. So there's a lot of stepping up left to do. But if you're CCS, you've got to focus on shutting down Carter Sutton, and you got to focus on shutting down what's his name? I just completely spaced, and that's a bad look.
Especially for the Tennessee Heat, you're gonna get some flack from the Heat fan base for
not much flack.
Oh,
Aiden Luchtefeld.
There it is, Luchtefeld.
They did lose Goolsby. They did lose Schroeder, Hacker. They lost Ross Scott. They lost Ty Whitaker. So they lost a whole lot of guys. But I think they'll reload, and I think Coach Scott will have them on track to get that dub in White House.
All right, so on the road, Tennessee Heat gets the win there. So CCS starts out 0-1. They have a bye week on August 20th, and then the 27th, they travel down to Huntsville, Alabama to collide with the Freedom Cowboys.
I don't think the travel will be enough. I think the travel will catch up with them just a little bit. I think once they get down to Freedom, especially with the Cowboys adding Will O'Neal and Raymond Hunt, and then you stack Josh Butler on top of that, I think it's going to be too much for them. I've got CCS losing that game.
All right, so you got them starting out winless at 0-2, but then next they have their first in-division matchup in a game that's happened ever since both of these teams joined 8-man football, and it continues every year. But this time it's for playoff implications as Franklin Classical School is moved to the north. So their opening game in September and their first playoff implicating game, they host the Franklin Classical Knights.
After taking the loss to the Heat at home in the home opener, they're going to come back to home. They're going to host Classical. They're going to host our friend Isaiah Austin. They're going to welcome in the Knights. The Knights have lost a whole lot from last year. Lost Cornette, lost Hubbard. Who's the other guy? They still have Salstrom, I believe. but I don't think it'll be enough. I think CCS gets the win on this one.
All right, so you got them starting 1-0 in their first win against Classical, and you got them 1-0 in the division to start off. Next week, the following week, they travel down to Chattanooga for their first matchup against the Grace Baptist Academy Golden Eagles, and it's going to be an interesting matchup. That was set to be the first home game for Grace Baptist, but that got changed around because of their schedule. Grace actually picked up a game, which we'll get into that, their first week of the season.
Don't spoil it.
They picked it up against the Bradley Knights. So that's their first home game of the year. But technically their first home game against a true 8-man team, or at least one that's been around for a while. It's Christian Community traveling down to Grace Baptist.
I don't think travel's going to be very kind to CCS this year, especially driving to Chattanooga, losing an hour. They're the first team that's going to have to do that all season out of all the teams going to Grace. And you know what? I think Grace, I'll get into how I think they'll do in a little bit, but I think for that first home game, the excitement of coming to 8-man, I think they'll pick up the dub. So I think I've got CCS losing.
So CCS will take the loss, and so you've got them at 1-3 so far. Next matchup, they travel back home to May Flanders Field, and they host the runner-up for the state championship last year in the South Haven Christian School Patriots.
So South Haven absolutely demolished CCS last year in Springfield at South Haven. I think South Haven will not have enough. I think CCS will get back home. They'll load up, and they will beat South Haven at home.
All right, 2-0 in division on that. Next matchup, they host the Providence Christian Academy Lions.
You know what? I like what Providence. I think I like what Providence will look like from year 1 to year 2. I think Coach Ferguson, now having a season under his belt, and some of these guys that are coming back for Providence, I think they'll absolutely get ready to go. I think they'll go into White House. First time that they've played each other on a varsity level, I've got Providence getting the win.
All right, so CCS now only 2 wins in those coming in division. And speaking of which, their next division matchup against the newest, one of the newest teams in the North, the Ezel Harding Christian School Eagles got moved to the North Division, and that matchup is in White House.
CCS has not fared well against Ezel Harding over the last couple of seasons. It's documented. They lost to him in the championship, lost to him last year when they went to Ezel Harding. I think they beat them the first year at CCS. I think that's a repeat of that situation. I think Ezel Harding goes to White House and gets beat. I've got CCS with the win.
You got CCS getting would that be their first win against Ezel Harding ever since they joined an 8-man football?
No, because they beat Ezel Harding in 2019 at CCS.
Okay. So they got him there. So CCS, their second win against Ezel Harding, and you got him going.
No, hang on. I might be wrong. Before I get absolutely blasted.
You get blasted no matter what predictions
I'm going to get blasted no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what happens.
No matter what happens. I might be wrong on that one.
But at least for now, you got CCS
no, I'm
going.
I'm wrong.
So
Ezel Harding beat CCS in White House. So CCS has never beat Ezel Harding.
So you have them, getting
their first win.
So that they're 3-0 in division. That next week they have their final game of the regular season on the road. They go to Sean Bell at the new head coaching position at the Lighthouse Christian School Lions.
You're going to see that I love what Coach Bell's done there at Lighthouse. I think Lighthouse is on the come up. Like I said earlier, I don't think road games are going to treat CCS well. I've got them losing to Lighthouse.
Then you got CCS going 4-0 in division, so that would make them the number 1 seed in the North. It should give them that.
I've got who going 4-0?
4-0 in division.
No, Lighthouse is in the North. They'll be 3-1.
No, I'm saying CCS would be 4. Who do you got? Lighthouse beating CCS?
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
No, it's all good.
That.
I've got Lighthouse beating
3-1. Okay, so right now CCS is in the driver's seat of the North Division, but we'll get into that later. We'll next go to the Evangel Christian School Lightning and Coach Tim Smith. We need to get him on the show. We're going to get him on at this point, but you've never predicted against him or for him.
Well, I've never predicted Evangel's season. Okay, so.
This is a first.
This is a first. All right.
So actually, this will be easy for you.
Can I say the first one? So yeah. The first week of the season, they're going to host some Franklin Christian Academy, someone like that. No, it's Ezel Harding all the way, or not Ezel Harding. Oh, brain sneeze. It's Evangel.
Yep. It's Evangel
getting the win.
Yeah, you got Evangel winning with the home game, and then they travel to Meadowview. They got another game there in the second week of the season.
Hang on.
2 wins. Is that your indication of 2 wins?
Hey, let's do this. Okay, you give me the game. I'll give you the hand signal.
Okay, what you want to indicate to the audience? I guess that's a W with
that's
the
a dub.
Okay, and then you're just gonna give it L. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Evangel. So you got. Yeah. So you got them.
Okay, so it is a straight L. Okay.
All right. So you said that they would beat FCA. You said they'll beat Meadowview. So 2-0. Hosting Grace Baptist. 3.
I love Grace Baptist. I don't think it'll be enough. Evangel comes in.
3-0. You got them hosting South Central Homeschool.
No, it's Southern Christian.
Southern Christian. Yep.
Southern Christian.
You got another one. 4-0. 4-0. Oh, I don't know where this is going. Next, you've got on September 10th. They have another home game against North River Christian School. Another win for 5-0. 5-0 so far at the Freedom Cowboys. You got them taking a loss. You got them.
I think they go to Freedom, and I think Coach Collins, I've mentioned the weapons Coach Collins just had this year. You're gonna see I like Freedom, and so I've got Freedom picking up the win over Evangel this year.
You know, from the stories that Coach Wilson told us, you're holding up the L. Tim's gonna be holding up the ring. He's gonna be pointing at the ring. Just be like,
he's gonna send me. He's gonna send me a video of just him
just pointing at the ring. Yes. All right. Next, the Evangel hosts Lighthouse Homeschool.
I think Evangel gets it done against Lighthouse Homeschool.
All right. 6.
I love you, Coach Duarte. I think Evangel's got it.
6-1, and then a rematch of the national championship on October 1st. Evangel travels to Ezekiel.
I love Coach Wilson too.
Cool.
I don't know that they have the firepower to replace what they lost last year. I think Evangel having their quarterback coming back helps them, and Ezekiel not having their quarterback back, I think that hurts them. I've got Evangel with the dub.
7-1 bye week, and then Evangel travels up to Mount Juliet for the first time in a long time. They travel up. Well, 2018 is when they traveled up to Tennessee for the national championship, but for a regular season game, first time they're doing this since I think the early 2000s. Or maybe
it's been
forever.
It's been a while.
But they're at the Tennessee Heat in Charlie Daniels Park. You're having them lose on the road. I
think the Heat get it done.
All right, and then East Central Homeschool. They travel. They will host the Evangel Lightning on October 22nd.
I think Coach gets it done. Gets a dub.
All right, 8-2, and then to close out the regular season, they host Southern Prep Academy, and I believe our video just went out. We'll get that. There's James.
The battery. So
the battery died
on
the
one.
other
So
one.
that one's gonna have to be the wide cam.
Yeah, it's our wide cam for today.
Spencer didn't charge.
Note to self: charge things. All right.
There we go.
October 29th, the final home game of the regular season. Southern Prep.
You know what? I like Southern Prep, and I like what Coach Roland Bell is doing there. I think that Southern Prep goes to Evangel Sports Complex. They get off the bus. They march off the bus, however they get off the bus. I think they put their uniforms on. They go through warm-ups. I think they go out on that field, and I think they get the dub, and I think Coach Smith takes his 3rd loss of the season. Wow. Which is bold because I don't remember the last time. I don't think he's ever gotten 3 losses in a season.
Imagine taking a that's also you're predicting they'll take a loss going into the state championship.
Exactly. Well, no, into the playoffs.
It's the state championship because their playoff system is only 2 teams.
That's right.
For now, they were talking about potentially having an expanded playoff system for the ACSC. Or ASCS.
ACSC. You were right.
I got it right the first time.
You got it right the first time.
All right, Evangel 8-3. All right, next we go to Ezekiel Academy.
Okay, so let me back up because we forgot to do this with CCS too. So CCS last year, I had them predicted at 2-7 overall. You want to take a shot at their final record?
I want to say it's 5-4.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was 3 games off.
Yeah, and they hosted a playoff game and everything. So your overall
Which game
record,
did they lose?
If they were 5-4, they in the playoffs they lost to Lancaster, but 5-4 they lost to South Haven, Lancaster, and they had they probably lost to. Didn't they lose to Freedom last year?
The last game of the regular season was
something like that.
Lighthouse. Oh, that's right. Some of the games got moved around. Okay, so I had them at 2-7. They finished 5-4. We'll just leave it there.
Yep. Okay. And you got CCS overall this year. Are they positive record on their final number?
No, 3-5.
They're 3-5 total. So 3-1 in.
So if I'm still 3 games off for CCS, then let's see, their final record will be 6-2.
Yep.
If I'm 3 games off.
Ezekiel Academy, we cover them fully in depth for the first time. The coach Hunter Wilson and company, they're trying to regroup from that loss in the national championship down in Panama City Beach, but they won the state championship first time in a long time, especially with their competition that they have. So they start off actually a week delayed, so they'll be able to see that Evangel game in the opening season or watch any of our broadcasts that we're doing.
Which I'll have to tune in next week to find out.
North River Christian School, they will host Ezekiel Academy to start off the season.
I think they get the win against North River. I think they get it done.
All right, and then they travel again. They go to Russell Christian Academy, the CFA team in Alabama.
They were the CFA champions last year. They're out of MISSI, SSIPPI, and I think they.
Yeah, I said CFA. I said based in Alabama. They're meant to say in Mississippi.
The conference is based in Alabama.
Yep.
Russell's in Mississippi.
Yep.
And Russell will also be winning the game. I've got Russell beating Ezekiel.
1-1 to start out the year, and then Ezekiel Academy has their first home game of the year on the first weekend of September against Coach Kyle Collins and company.
I don't think it'll be enough. I've got Freedom with the win.
Ooh.
I've got Ezekiel losing that one.
1 and 2. All right, and then a travel on the road to the Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors.
So last year, Ezekiel played Lighthouse. When they played in the regular season, Lighthouse won. Played in the state championship, Ezekiel won. I think it'll come back, and I think Lighthouse wins that game. I've got Ezekiel losing that one.
All right, and then so you got you said you got sorry.
I've got Lighthouse getting the win on that, so Ezekiel losing.
Okay.
So I've got Ezekiel right now at 1-3.
1-3. All right. Then the next week you got the East Central Homeschool will be hosting Ezekiel.
I think Ezekiel gets that done. I think they get the win.
All right, 2-3, and then they have a home game against Success Unlimited Academy.
I think they get it done against Success Unlimited. I've got them getting a win in that one as well.
Got them at 500, and then they start off October hosting the Evangel Christian School Lightning.
I don't think they get it done with Coach Smith.
Yeah,
I got taking the L against Evangel this year.
3-4, as you already mentioned, and then they have another home game. That's up a 4-game homestand to end their school year. They have All Saints Academy.
5-game homestand.
Week. Sorry, 5 games. You're right.
Yeah,
5-game homestand. So All Saints
against All Saints, think they get the win. Listen, All Saints is a great team out of Florida, coming out of Central Florida. I think they get it done against All Saints. I think the travel will just be a little too much. It'll be a great experience. Might be a great game, but I don't think they get it done against All Saints.
4-4, and then they host Southern Prep Academy.
I like what Southern Prep's going on. You'll see kind of a trend. I like what Southern Prep's got going on. I think Southern Prep gets the win.
All right, so 4-5 for Ezekiel so far, and then the regular season is closed out on October 22nd against Southern Christian High School.
You know what? I would be remiss if I didn't pick Ezekiel to get it done. I don't think Southern Christian, this is only their second season. I don't know a ton about them, but I know a lot about Ezekiel, and I think Ezekiel gets it done.
And then Ezekiel has a bye week going into the state championship. You got Ezekiel going 5-5. You got him going 500 this year.
Yep.
Well, let's move on to our second North team.
And I didn't pick Ezekiel last year.
We go to our second North team with the Ezel Harding Christian School Eagles. So they start off on August 13th at Lighthouse Christian School.
I don't think they get it done against Coach Bell and Lighthouse. I think the Bell is coming back to Bell Road and Lighthouse Christian.
Yeah, so I think Ezel Harding, they've won it the last 2 years, 2 straight.
I say the Bell's coming back to Bell Road. They're both on Bell Road.
It'd be the first time that.
What's the name of the road? Blue Cove Road.
It's Blue Hole.
Blue Hole Road.
Yep.
That Bell's coming to Blue Hole Road.
That would be the first time that Lighthouse would take the win of the Bells in the third overall matchup between those two. And Ezel Harding takes a tough divisional loss to start out the year. Then they host Grace Baptist Academy in Nashville.
Grace Baptist's first game of the season. I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see what happens. I don't think they get it done, though. I think Ezel Harding picks up the win at home.
So that makes them 1-1. Then Ezel Harding at Franklin Christian, and W immediately. Notice the trend of the teams we don't cover. It's it's an immediate win.
Anyways,
all right, 2-1 for Ezel Harding. Then they host, and again the 2021 site of the championship. To the Ezel Harding Christian School, they host the Tennessee Heat.
It'll be the side of the championship, but it won't be a side of a win that night. I've got the Heat getting the win.
2-2. And then Ezel Harding, they face off against what used to be the last-second decision for playoff seeding between Ezel Harding and Lancaster.
It come down to that game.
It came down to that game in the last 2 years, but now it won't since they're in separate divisions. Saturday night, September 11th, Lancaster Christian will host Ezel Harding.
I think Ezel Harding gets it done against Lancaster. I'm looking forward to seeing what Deuce Bragg brings in his junior year. They've got Devin Hargrove. Mm-hmm. They got a bunch of guys coming back, but I think Ezel Harding gets it done with Jamari Liddell.
They have a familiar matchup that following week, and this time it's still for divisional matchups because of Classical being moved up, so Franklin Classical will travel up to Ezel Harding.
Click on that. Classical, Ezel Harding, Ezel Harding. All day.
You got Ezel Harding on day 4-2, so that makes them 1-1 in the North. And then their next, they got a three games in a row of playoff seeding. So October 1st, they'll know their division record at these games. But this next game on September 24th, they host South Haven.
I think South Haven's going to, of course, first time they've ever played each other.
Yep.
I think South Haven's going to struggle in that game. I've got Ezel Harding getting the win.
2-1 and overall 5-2, and then May Flanders Field will host Ezel Harding on October 1st.
So I did not know. So they do not have Jamari Liddell on Max Preps on their roster, and I might have been mistaken. He might have been a senior last year.
But Ezel Harding,
he was a senior, so they did lose him. Great player, by the way. But I still have Ezel Harding getting the win. Against Sacred Heart. No.
Or CCS.
Sorry. CCS.
This is the CCS match. Well, you got them winning against Sacred Heart the following week?
Yes, I have them winning against Sacred Heart the final week. I do not have them winning against CCS, though.
All right.
CCS.
They do have a bye week in between that CCS and
Sacred
Heart game.
You already knew that, though, because we already talked about that game.
Yep, we did about the CCS one, and then you mentioned
Sacred Heart.
That's on the road in Jackson. So
I think they get it done.
So right now we've got a tie between Christian Community and Ezel Harding for division records at 3-1, but that goes head to head with you saying that
CCS will have to win.
But they have to win if they want to get that number 1 seed. Next, we go with Coach Kyle Collins and company.
Let's do this for freedom, okay?
Yep, freedom.
I do not have freedom losing against Lighthouse, CCS, Ezekiel, East Coast, Evangel, Grace, Sacred Heart, Franklin Classical, Franklin Christian. I do not have them losing until the last game of the year.
Until the Independence Bowl.
Go to Mount Juliet, and I think they lose, and I think Coach Scott keeps the Independence Independence Bowl trophy in Mount Juliet at Charlie Daniels Park.
Wow.
I've got freedom at 9-1.
Remember what happened last time you picked a team to pretty much go undefeated?
Yeah, it didn't really work out. I didn't pick anybody to go completely undefeated this year.
Yeah, all right. Well, not this year. So freedom, Coach Kyle Collins Company. You guys will have a good regular season, and then the Independence Bowl. James thinks you'll take the loss, but who knows if they'll go down to Florida or not.
FYI, I don't know why that just moved like that. FYI, so Ezel Harding last season. Pull it up. I've got Ezel. Last season I had Ezel Harding at 4-4.
You got him at 7-2.
Last season, Ezel Harding finished at 5-4. So 1 game off.
1 game off, and you got Ezel Harding this year.
Okay, hang on. Beat the Heat, or the loss to the Heat. Beat Classical. Lost to CCS. Lost to FCA. Beat Providence. Beat Riverside. Okay. So technically they were 5-3 because it's got them having a playoff loss to Lighthouse because of the forfeit.
Yeah, because of the forfeit and such. Yep.
So for all intents and purposes, they were 7-3 or 5-3.
All right. Well, and
so
you
that was a game off.
Yep. You got
Ezel Harding.
You got Ezel Harding going 7-2 this year. Let's go to Isaiah Austin in his essentially sophomore year of coaching.
Before we do that, got to look at Freedom.
You're looking at last year's Freedom record. Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Let me find them. There they are. Freedom Cowboys.
I'm sure James will post it somewhere, or he'll make you go back and listen, just acknowledging one of our comments on here. I'm sure he'll either post these somewhere, or you'll just have to listen back to the show every time if you want to know how.
So last season, they finished 5-7.
All right, they were 5-7.
Well,
that's
okay. So and that's with a 4-7. That's counting the Bowling Green. The game they were supposed to play against Bowling Green, that's counting as a forfeit win.
Even though that
so
was
4-7, and then a forfeit with Sacred Heart. So they finished 3-7.
Okay.
In actual games they played.
Okay, 3-7. Let's go to
last year. I had them at hey.
I thought you already said. what their record was last year.
So I had them. They finished 3-7. Mm-hmm. I had them at 6-3.
Okay, you went really positive on that one. It looked like it was going to be a good season for Coach Kyle Collins' company. And maybe it is this year too.
If you want to take out the Independence Bowl, the game with the Tennessee Heat, because I don't think I predicted that one. I did not. So if
not
you take
preseason.
so if you take out the Tennessee Heat game, they finished 3-6. Mm-hmm. I had them at 6-3, so 3 games off.
All right,
which is pretty significant actually, but.
Isaiah Austin goes into his sophomore year of coaching, in essence, and he starts off on the road on August 13th in Murfreesboro at Providence Christian Academy.
Franklin Classical lost a lot of guys after last year. I think they'll struggle. I do not think they'll win at Providence.
So they start out 0-1, and that's not a division matchup for them, so it doesn't make a huge difference. Another non-division matchup, what was going to be at Riverside, is now at Zion Christian. Just a 45-minute drive away for him in Columbia.
It is. It isn't that far, is it?
No, from Franklin, it's 45 minutes to Columbia. It's not that far. But
sorry, I'm looking at the. Or you can produce these predictions anywhere.
No, that's what I was saying.
Come back and come back and listen to the show.
Classical at Zion.
I don't think they get it done against Zion. I've got Zion winning.
All right, they start out 0-2.
Zion's first home game, by the way.
Yep, their first home game. First in-division matchup for Classical. They collide with the South Haven Christian School Patriots.
I think they go to Springfield and get it done. I've got them picking up the win against South Haven.
1-0. You got them getting the first win against Coach Sawyers and company. And then a tough matchup at May Flanders Field. No, you already mentioned it, but remind these people, what is Classical going to do at May Flanders Field?
This trip to CCS is not going to go well for Classical. This trip to Robertson County is not going to go well. They're going to get the loss.
Start at 1-3. They take a bye week, and then they have their next division matchup, which, again, familiar face, at Ezel Harding. Mind the viewers. I got a loss for them. So 1-4 and then 1-2 overall in division. Then they host Sacred Heart on September 24th. Perfect timing to take a water drink.
Perfect timing. Take 2 U's and just boom.
That's a win for them.
And then erase that and put it back. W against Sacred Heart.
Then on October 1st, they have their final division matchup of the regular season, probably with the Cam Link about to die.
We'll just go audio only.
We'll go audio only, or we could just get a long HDMI cable, plug it right into the Cam Link.
We could do that too.
This works. So, all right, October 1st, Lighthouse Christian School at Franklin Classical. Just remind the not remind the viewers because we haven't predicted Lighthouse's schedule yet, but Franklin
I
Classical.
don't think Classical gets it against the Lighthouse. I think Lighthouse wins.
2-5, and then 1-3 in the division. So right now, Classical would be the lowest team in the North. So now, Franklin Classical against Freedom Cowboys. You already made that prediction earlier with them going undefeated in the regular season. So now 2-6, and then it goes into the TSIAA playoffs. So you got the Classical Knights at 2-6 on the year, 1-3 in division. What was your record you predicted them at last year?
So last year I predicted.
What record?
So last year I predicted Classical at 5-3, and they finished. Pull up their season. That would have been a whole lot of pages I have open on this.
Yeah, you got a lot of pages open trying to sort through all these things. Tell you, it's a work in progress here.
It's not Franklin Classical, by the way. It's Franklin Classical. My computer wanted to put Franklin.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so varsity love max preps, but I especially love when people keep max preps updated.
Oh yeah, not
shout
as
out to all you
do.
coaches who do that,
or at least the coaching staffs that do that, or the athletic directors, those who keep it up to date.
So last year, Franklin Classical went. Let me make sure there's no forfeits on this. Okay, they went 2-6. Last year, I had Classical predicted at 5-3. So 3 games off.
Yeah,
I'm always 3 games off, man.
It's either 3 or so games off, something like that.
Except for Ezel Harding.
Yep,
it's pretty dead on with that one.
Except for Ezel Harding. All right, let's go into the first South team that we're predicting on our schedule. Grace Baptist Academy Golden Eagles, the new team on the block, and they start out their season on August 13th, where they host the Bradley Knights. That's their first official 8-man football game, but against a team that we haven't really heard much about.
Yeah, they're a homeschool team out of Cleveland, Tennessee. Bradley County, I believe it is. Homeschool team. This is their first year of varsity. I think they're playing all 11. I couldn't get the coach to respond to any calls or texts to get more information on it, but they're playing the 8-man game against Grace. And I think that's the only 8-man game they're playing, which is probably good for them because I've got Grace getting the win.
They start out the season at 1-0, and immediately move looks pretty good. They got a next challenge on the road. They play against Ezel Harding.
I don't think they get it done against Ezel Harding.
And that makes them go 1-1 immediately on the year.
I don't think they're going to get Evangel. Already predicted this one.
1-2. All right, and then at Providence.
I actually think they go to Murfreesboro, and I like what Providence is doing. I've got Providence getting the win on this one.
All right, you got 1-3, and then Grace loses their first in-division game, again, assuming that they're eligible for the postseason. Grace Baptist, they then host Christian Community. They got a W.
I've got them picking up the win.
Yeah, picking up the win, and then they host Lancaster Christian. All right, 3-3, and then 1-1 in division, and then they host Zion.
I didn't actually say it. I've got them losing to Lancaster.
Why do you have to do that to me, man?
I've got them losing to Lancaster.
Okay, so you got 0-2.
So they lose another in-division game.
So 2-4, and then 0-2 in division, and then they host Zion Christian the following week.
You know what? Actually,
you gonna change that already?
I'm thinking about it. This is my only chance to change them. I think they get it done against Zion. I think they pick up the win.
All right, Grace Baptist gets the win against Zion, and again, not an in-division matchup on that because of Zion being ineligible. So 3-4. They have a bye week on October 1st, and then they face off against Franklin Christian in Franklin.
Obviously, a win.
Yep, win.
Got to pick up the win.
4-4, and Grace Baptist 1-2, and then on Thursday, currently the schedule is. Grace Baptist will host the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings on Thursday the 14th. But if Grace Baptist is eligible, I believe. Well, actually,
no, they can still play TSD.
Yeah, they can. They've gotten all they'll know their division matchups at that point because of the 4 teams eligible. Yep. So Grace Baptist will be 1-2. They would they'd be one of the lower teams in the South there. So Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings, they return to football this season, and they have that Thursday game. Not their last game for the Vikings, but for Grace Baptist, it's looks like their last one before the playoffs.
Will you look at Zion's schedule for me and tell me the Grace game? What games is it between?
Say that again.
So Zion, when they play Grace,
for
Zion, which games is the Grace game between?
For Zion, which game is the Grace? They play. It says Grace Baptist is hosting Zion on September 24th.
Okay, so who does Zion play before that?
Lighthouse. They had Lighthouse that previous week.
Okay, perfect.
So, but anyways, Grace Baptist hosting the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings on October 14th.
I think they get it done.
All right.
Against TSD.
So 5-4 for Grace Baptist, and then right now they have on the schedule that they face Sacred Heart the first weekend of the playoffs.
So we need to adjust this. When we were going through Freedom, I had Freedom getting the win against Grace. We need to take that off of there because Freedom is not playing Grace that week.
Okay, so Freedom is not playing Grace Baptist.
So I have Freedom now at 8-1.
Okay, yep, they're still 8-1 on the predictions, but as of now, October 22nd, Grace Baptist is slated to play the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights, but that is the first weekend of the playoffs.
I did not predict that game because I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's probably going to be canceled if the playoff situations are going on there. If Grace Baptist gets into the Division I playoffs,
so that puts Grace at 5-4,
5-4, and 1-2 in division, depending on where that situation plays out. Let's go ahead and move on to Lancaster then. So the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights, Deuce Bragg is now a junior, and he's lost some weapons over the years, and he's got a challenge ahead of him here for 2021. They start out their season on the road for an in-division matchup to start out the season at 7:30 on August 20th, and that's in Murfreesboro.
They still have some weapons, but I don't think it'll be enough against Providence. I think they get the loss.
All right, they start out 0-1. Then they travel up to Antioch to collide with Sean Bell.
And Sean Bell getting to play his former team. I think Sean Bell gets the best of it.
Bye week on September 3rd, and then they host Ezel Harding Saturday, September 11th.
I already covered it, but boom.
Yeah, that's another.
To Ezel Harding.
That's another loss for Lancaster. And then another division matchup at Grace Baptist in Chattanooga.
I think Grace Baptist gets it done. Or, I'm sorry, Lancaster gets it done. I've got them beating Grace Baptist.
All right, so they go 1-1 in division. Then they host Franklin Christian.
Win.
2-1, 2-3, and then they host Zion.
I've got them actually getting the win against Zion.
All right, 3-3 even. So so Lancaster, their final game of the regular season, October 15th, hosting the South Haven Patriots.
I think they'll get it done against South Haven. First time that these two teams are playing each other. I think they get it done. I think it's a win for Lancaster.
All right, so that's 4-3 for Lancaster. They're 2-1 in division, so they've got a decent chance there. As long as you have 2 wins, you get into the Division I playoffs. So you got Lancaster in there. The question is, what are the other records of the other teams?
Exactly.
But ready to
so
move
last
on
year,
yeah,
last year I had Lancaster. I did have Lancaster at 7-0.
Yeah, you had them going unbeaten, and they took.
That didn't.
Again, when you predict teams to
that
go
didn't age
undefeated,
well.
No, it did not.
Let's see, Lancaster. Someone's probably in the chats. I know where Lancaster finished. Lancaster last year went. I had them at 7-0. They ended up finishing. Factor in playoffs. So if you take the 2 playoff games off, they finished 4-3.
4-3.
Yep. So 3 games off.
Yeah, 3. It's the record with you, man. All right, let's go on to one of the newest teams in our coverage map, the Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors. They start out their season on the road at North River Christian School.
I think they get the win against North River.
All right, 1-0. Freedom Cowboys. You already covered it, so 1-1.
They take the L against Freedom.
All right, at SCP.
Southern Christian.
Christian, I believe. Preparatory.
Is it Southern? No. Hang on. We might have gotten that wrong. I think it's Southern Christian. Is it Southern Christian or Southern Prep?
No, Southern Prep has got a game that week against.
Okay, so it's Southern Christian.
Yeah, so Southern Christian that week. So yeah, because the Springwood Wildcats collide with Southern Prep that week, which we'll get into that prediction.
So apparently our audio is lagging a little bit.
Yep. That's a Sling Studio thing. We'll fix it going into the next few weeks.
Might have to go to audio only, especially if the camera dies.
Yep.
So I've got them getting the win.
The camera just died, actually.
Yep.
All right, we swap over to audio only. Yeah, you get to see the sponsors today as we continue along. So, all right. So, at SCP Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors. That's the acronym I got on the helmet schedule.
Oh,
Southern Christian Patriots. All right. They got a bye week the next week, and then as they are 2-1, they collide with Ezekiel Academy. I believe. Yep, 3-1. Then hosting Trinity. You just got another one there. All right, at the Evangel Lightning. a bye week, and then at Tabernacle Christian School.
I've actually got them picking up the win against this CFA team.
5-2, and then East Central Homeschool at home.
I've got them picking up the win.
6-2, and then they host the Tennessee Heat in Alabama.
I've actually got Lighthouse picking up the win.
Ooh. So they end the season at 7-2. 7-2 conclusion to the regular season for the Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors, and likely they could get into the state championship depending on how they're. Well, they got the loss against. They got the win against Ezekiel, lost against Evangel. Probably go to head-to-head. So, all right. Now, Providence Christian Academy, the Lions. Coach Ferguson is back, and they start out their season on August 14th, Saturday, against Franklin Classical School. Which we predict these, but just to remind the people.
I've got Providence getting the win on this one.
All right, Providence.
As you start to get further down the list of teams, there's games you've already lost. The games you've already.
Yep. All right, and then they host Lancaster 7:30 on August 20th. I believe you said Lancaster was getting the win on that.
I've got Providence actually picking up the win.
They are 1-0 in division and 2-0 overall. So next they have at Zion.
I actually think they go to Zion and pick up the win on this one.
3-0, and then they host Grace Baptist in Murfreesboro.
You know what? I actually think that Grace Baptist with the drive up to Murfreesboro. What date is the Providence Grace game?
September 3rd.
Okay, so it's the week after they go to Bama.
Yep.
Is that right?
Grace. Yep. That's a week after they go to Alabama.
So I actually think that you gotta go on the road to Nashville. So my mic is off. Oh, you muted my mic.
Oh, well, perfect. Perfect. Anyways.
I'm back.
He's back.
Shout out to my smoking hot wife for letting me know. Actually, I'm surprised she wasn't enjoying it. I have to listen to my voice. So, I'm kidding. So, Grace has to come to Nashville. Then they go to Alabama. Then they go to Murfreesboro. And I think it catches up with them. I've got Providence getting the win.
All right, so Providence gets the win. They're 4-0. They're 2-0 in division after that. They have a bye week, and then at the Tennessee Heat, I believe you already said that Providence will take the loss there. And
yes, I've got the Heat winning.
4-1. All right, at Christian Community for Providence.
I've got Providence getting the win.
All right, 5-1. Then at Franklin Christian,
win.
6-1, 3-0 in division for. That's actually the end of their in-division games, and then they close out the season hosting Lighthouse Christian School.
You know what? I like what Coach Bell has going on at Lighthouse, and I think he'll do well this season. I think this is a matchup between the two coaches that I'm the most excited to watch what they do with their programs. But I do have Providence picking up the win on this one.
All right, 6-2 for Providence. All right, we now go to the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights. They are going independent this year. So now they start out the year. They will host the Tennessee Heat on Saturday, August 21st.
By the way,
and that's at 3 p.m. in the afternoon as well.
By the way, with Providence, I had picked at 2-5 last year. I don't think they won any games.
Yeah, they went either 0-6 or 0-7, something like that.
Let me double check.
Perfect time for them to rebound and bounce back.
I think they will. I think they get that first win against. I think they start out the season with four straight wins.
That'll be a good motivational factor.
Yeah, they
Ferguson
did finish 0-5. There's got to be a couple games on here that's not on here. So I was off on Providence last year.
All right. So now we go to Sacred Heart.
I'm sorry to interject. They did not end up playing Sacred Heart last year. They were supposed to play Sacred Heart.
Yeah, that was canceled.
And they also did not play who did they not end up playing?
It's one other team.
Well, obviously. FCA, Ezel, Harding, Classical. I don't know why I have them written down at 2-5. I would have picked them at 1-5.
1-5. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on.
Anyways, I was a game or two off on them. Okay?
Yep. All right. Sacred Heart. They host on August 21st the Tennessee Heat at Saturday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
I have the Heat winning this game.
All right. Heat's winning. Sacred Heart's 0-1. They next face off against on the 27th Abundant Life Christian Academy
out of Arkansas. Getting a little Arkansas 8-man in here. And I think Tennessee 8-man gets it done.
All right, 1-1, and then Sacred Heart travels up to Lighthouse Christian School in Antioch.
I actually think that Lighthouse gets it done.
All right, 1-2 at South Haven for Sacred Heart.
I've actually got South Haven picking up the win in this game.
1-3, a bye week, and then September 24th, Franklin Classical School.
So Sacred Heart's going to handle business against Classical.
All right, 2-3, and then at the Freedom Cowboys in Huntsville.
I've got them picking up the loss.
Yep, 2-4. You already predicted those. Hosting Ezel Harding.
First time for these teams ever playing.
Yep.
And I've got Sacred Heart losing.
Yeah, and they were supposed to play, I believe, last year, 2 years ago, but then Sacred Heart didn't have the numbers or they had injuries. And then they close out they don't close out the regular season that week. They travel. Their final road game of the season is at Grace Baptist on October 22nd. Come on, James.
Wait a minute.
You got October 15th hosting Ezel Harding. Yeah, remember that's the game you didn't predict because it's potentially conflicting with the playoffs.
So they have a game on October 22nd?
Sacred Heart at Grace Baptist, remember? Because again, they scheduled that game, and they agreed if there's a conflict with it that Grace Baptist would cancel the game, because at least from what Coach Ateca told us.
I'm not.
All right, you won't predict that one, and then October 30th, Sacred Heart hosts the Tennessee School for the Deaf.
I think Sacred Heart gets it done. The first time these two teams ever play, Battle of East Tennessee versus West Tennessee,
3-5.
And I think West Tennessee gets it done.
All right, 3-5 minus the Grace Baptist game, and compare that to what your prediction was last year.
Sacred Heart last year, I had them at 2-7, and they ended up. Let me get it pulled up. So 2-7 last year. I need Max Preps to cooperate with me. They finished. Let's factor in forfeits. So if you take 2 of those losses away, they finished 1-4.
1-4 last year. So you were you were almost accurate. I think you had something close to that with last year.
I had them at 2-7. So there were some games. Of course, it was last year. It was 2020 season.
Yep. Everything that factored in. And now the last team we cover, for the TSI AA out of our predictions here, at least of the playoff eligible teams. So I'll be able to give you a bracketology on that. South Haven Christian School. Saturday, August 14th is where they start out the year. That's at 6 p.m. kickoff. They host Zion Christian.
I think South Haven gets it done against Zion. I think South Haven picks up the win.
South Haven picks up the win. They start out the season 1-0. Their first in-division matchup is at Lighthouse Christian School.
I don't think they get it done at Lighthouse.
1-1, and then 0-1 on the division. And then their next matchup is hosting Classical. We went over that a little bit.
I don't think they get it done. I think I'm giving Classical the win.
All right, so 1-2. And then on Thursday, they have a rematch of that amazing game we saw in Springfield, where on Thursday the 2nd, they traveled to Knoxville to collide with the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings.
I think the travel will catch up to them. I've got Vikings with the win.
Vikings with the win. 1-3 for South Haven so far. Then South Haven hosts Sacred Heart, which
I've got South Haven actually picking up the win.
2-3, and then the matchup in the north that's been the story since 2017. Christian
CCS
Community
getting the win.
South Haven. Yep, you got CCS, and then South Haven will go 0-3 on their individual matchups, and then they go to Ezel Harding.
Doesn't get it done. They don't get it done.
5. So
same thing with Lancaster. I've got them losing to Ezel Harding as well as Lancaster.
2 bye weeks, and then you've got them losing to Lancaster, so that'll be 2-6. And that means South Haven, by your predictions here, just to give an idea, while you're pulling up the your comparison record from South Haven, Christian Community and Ezel Harding are tied with 3-1 in division. So I believe head-to-head you have CCS winning, so that, I believe, gives them the tiebreaker because there's no triangle there of one team's losing to another.
Right.
So CCS number one seed, Ezel Harding number 2 seed, Franklin. Actually, we have to get to. I skipped over Lighthouse. I think.
How dare you?
I skipped over Lighthouse.
Lighthouse is going to be the number 1 seed.
Okay. Well, he already said that. All right. Well, I skipped over Lighthouse, so we'll do the predictions there and such. But your predictions last year.
Did you skip over Lighthouse?
I did. Yeah, I just completely skipped over.
All right.
I did the Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors. That's what happened because LCS
gotcha.
and them. So, but South Haven from last year, your prediction compared to the regular season record.
So last year I had them at 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I was high on them and Lancaster both.
Yep.
they actually ended up finishing the regular season.
Close enough. Some record.
I'm trying to factor in playoffs and forfeits. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1.
It's all work in progress.
5-1.
5-1.
Because then they had the playoff game against Lighthouse, and the obviously state championship game.
Yep.
Conference championship game between FCA.
All right, now we go to.
So they finished 5-1.
All right, now we go to the final team of the TSIAA, the Lighthouse Christian School Lions.
How dare you skip over
it's
Coach
again
Bell.
Lighthouse and Lighthouse are next to each other on the schedule. That's why I just accidentally skipped over to it. All right,
let's speed this up for Lighthouse, okay?
Yep.
Because I think we only have about 15
yeah,
minutes
we got.
left.
Yep.
All right, let's speed this up for Lighthouse. The only loss that I have Lighthouse having, I've already discussed this because we previewed them. Their only loss this season will be to Providence at the end of the season.
And what do you got their overall record with that?
7-1.
7-1.
Same situation for Freedom, where they're undefeated all year and then they lose at the end of the year.
So you know what that means? That means that Lighthouse #1 seed for the first time in a while. Actually, I think since 2014. I think they were #1 seed. So #1 seed there. Christian Community would have the #2 seed because of that tiebreaker over Ezel Harding head-to-head. Then Ezel Harding is the #3 seed traveling on the road. So that means Franklin Classical and South Haven. Classical would be the highest seed of Division II, and then South Haven would be the lowest seed at 0-4 in division. So, but yep, Division II teams would be Classical and South Haven. I'm sure they'll prove wrong. All right, Southern Prep, the Southern Prep Academy. The Fighting Rangers.
So the games that I have Southern, we'll speed this up a little bit for these last few teams. We speed up for Southern Prep. So Southern Prep, I've got them losing to Westwood, and I've also got them losing to Meadowview. And I think every other 8-man game and 11-man game they play, I think they get the win. They win against Ezekiel, win against Evangel.
So that's
win against Solid Rock coming out of Georgia.
So 9-2 is what you got them on for the season. 9-2. All right, Tennessee Heat.
Tennessee Heat. Okay, at CCS getting the win, at Sacred Heart winning, at versus Red Boiling Springs win in an 11-man game.
3-0.
At Ezel Harding with the win. At Clarksville Academy, I think they get the loss. They host Providence on homecoming. I think they get the win. They play a couple 11-man games against Monterey High School and Cannon County High School. Get the loss. I think they host Evangel, pick up the win. I think they go to Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors, get the loss, and then they host Freedom and get the win.
So 7-4.
Yep. Got
them at 7-4 on the year, and then depending on what they potentially do in Florida or in NACA. All right, and Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings.
So obviously Tennessee Heat didn't work out for me last year. I had them at 9-0. Let me look real quick what their final overall record was. There's Tennessee. Oh no, it left me. Tennessee Heat.
Looking at their record from last year.
Yeah. Let's see. There's.
You had them going, I think, like 8-0 or not 9-0, something like that.
2. So they finished 7-2.
And their 2 losses were to Evangel and.
6-2. They had a forfeit win with. Actually 5-2. They had a forfeit win against Lighthouse, forfeit win against Memphis Nighthawks. So yeah.
Yeah, because that Lighthouse game was canceled due to the COVID outbreak.
Yeah. So I counted it 5-2.
Yeah, 5-2. All right. Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings. They are, of course, as usual, they're the team to start the latest in the season because of their school schedule, and they started out on Thursday, September 2nd, hosting South Haven in Knoxville.
I think they get the win.
First home game or first game for them since 2019 for football.
They did not have football last year.
So you got them 1-0, and then they host the Carolina School for the Deaf, the Carolina Wildcats.
Yep, Carolina Wildcats. I think they get the win against the Wildcats.
And that's on Thursday as well, 2-0, and then the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind on Saturday.
I actually have them losing the next 3 games. They host Alabama, go to South Carolina, and go to Mississippi. I've got them losing all 3 of those.
And then you got them winning again against South Carolina at home?
At home.
All right, 3-3. And then they go to Grace Baptist on October 14th.
I think they lose.
All right, 3-4.
I don't think the road is very kind to TSD this year.
Doesn't look like it. And then they have a bye week, and they close out their season at the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights on October 30th.
I've got them losing that one.
3-5, and under their new head coach is what you got them at, 3-5. And then, last but certainly not least, only last in alphabetical order, Zion Christian Academy. But first, Tennessee School for the Deaf. I don't know if you want to compare their 2019 record and what you predicted them as. You'd have to go back on that, but we can just go on. To Zion. All right, Zion Christian. They start out their 8-man football tenure at South Haven Christian School Saturday, August 14th.
I don't think they get the win in their first ever game. I think there's some lumps, and I think they lose.
All right, hosting Franklin Classical.
I've actually got them picking up the win against Classical.
All right, hosting Providence.
I have them losing the game to Providence.
All right, and then they take a bye week, and then they host Franklin Christian. So win.
I think that they win with Franklin Christian.
Yep, 2-2.
I don't think I know.
At Lighthouse Christian School, September 17th.
I think they lose.
2-3 at Grace Baptist.
Let's see.
That's on September 24th.
I was looking at something else. Grace Baptist, they get the loss.
2-4, and then they close out the year at Lancaster Christian on October 1st.
I think they lose.
So they'll go 2-5. So at least get 2 wins in their first 8-man football season. But it's tough there. So the way that works is that with the South teams, that means Providence is the number 1 seed, Lancaster is the number 2 seed, and then based on records here of the eligible teams. I believe technically Franklin Christian would be the 3 seed. At least out of the teams we cover, Grace Baptist would be the 3 seed. But depending on how Franklin Christian fares against the rest of the teams, I believe it would be Providence number 1 seed, Lancaster number 2 seed, and then Franklin Christian 3 seed, and then Grace Baptist goes to the Division II championship with.
I picked Grace Baptist at 5-4, right?
Yep, 5-4, 1-2.
I think Grace Baptist is that 3rd team.
You think so?
Yep.
Think over FCA? Okay.
Yep.
Then FCA goes to the Division II championship against.
How about FCA and South Haven playing for Division II this year?
Oh man, what a turn of events that would be! What a true justice that would be to getting the message across of revise the system. That would really need to be changed on that. But
so there you go.
Yeah.
There's your bulletin board material, your fuel to hate, James. Stephen A. Shannon throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the fuel. That's how you get bulletin board material, or you get upset about it and refuse to ever talk to James or any of us, as some coaches do.
Then I'll have to conceal carry when I go to the Jamboree this weekend, so I don't get mugged.
I don't know about that, but
somebody walking along. You picked us 2-7. Bang.
Let's hope some. I don't think anyone's that violent to go do that stuff. No, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be at the Jamboree, not broadcasting. We'll be doing a dry run of our equipment and everything, and you can feel free to talk to us in between plays.
If you see us, say hey.
Yeah, say hey to us. Say any of us.
Not saying that we'll say hey back, but.
We'll be introducing fully our new crew members on air next week, so to get you guys familiarized with them and everything. And we'll be at the Jamboree both days, Friday and Saturday night at Christian Community. Which that starts. Let me make sure I get the time for you.
They both start at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
You're also forgetting something else.
What's
that could potentially be happening on Saturday. The plan right now is for it to happen on Saturday.
Well, let's not reveal anything until it's official, until we finalize it, because you don't want to get people's hyped up and then it not happen.
That's true.
So we've got something in the works for early
Saturday. We will announce
Saturday.
it on social media if it for sure is happening.
If it for sure happens. But yeah, both nights at 6 p.m. Head up to White House. Go see the Jamboree. You got some teams that you could soak in on there, and get some good soak in some good 8-man football, because football is back
right now. Out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Kind of a lot.
Out of the 17 people that could be involved in this, we have 2 yeses. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's, and 1, 2, 3, 4 maybes.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have not answered at all.
Yeah, we're waiting on responses.
Kind of a mixed response.
Yep, we got some things we're working on, so hopefully we'll be able to announce it for you this week. But any shout-outs, James?
Shout out for y'all. Shout out to everyone who listens and interacts and is entertained by what we do. I mean, it's literally just entertainment.
Yep.
I truly believe some of these predictions. I don't think I'm going to be 100% correct, but I would put money on it if my wife wouldn't kill me for doing it.
Well, I mean, sports gambling is legal in Tennessee now.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't know what the regulations are.
I should probably revise that though. I shouldn't be betting on high school games.
No. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think the regulations are not good on that.
Let me rephrase it. I wouldn't put money on it. I would bet though. I would bet wearing a shirt or something. If someone has an interesting bet they want to make in terms of how their season goes and how their team does, DM us. Hit us up. Let's make something happen.
Yeah, just hit them up on that, and we'll see where we go from there. But and a shout out to you guys especially for giving your feedback during the stream. We're gonna try and get some more audience integration as we go through Extreme Talk.
Shout out to Audrey over here.
Oh yeah,
running the camera, getting everything packed up.
Yep, getting us situated and everything. And special thanks to you both for accommodating rushing stuff because I got a flight to catch. I got a flight to catch. Hey, it's my last vacation before we head into the season. Such. Hey man, you had all summer.
I worked all summer. That's what I did.
You got PTO.
I should have drunk a bang. I need a bang.
You'll take your vacation during Christmas, man, once the season's over and everything. Gatlinburg is technically going to be a little vacation.
Technically vacation.
Yeah, maybe you could stay a few days with me afterwards because I'm going up to Dollywood. I'm doing Sunday, Monday, going out to their places. But
we'll see.
We'll see. The Jamboree is here. Football is officially back, everybody, and that is going to do it for Extreme Radio, formerly Extreme Talk, presented by GracePointe Healthcare, fueled by Fairlife Core Power Protein, and financially supported in part by First Horizon. For Audrey Green, for Brendan Daniel on vacation, for James Shannon, as well as Monica and Jerry Jr., Spencer Tom said, football is back. We'll see you at the Jamboree this weekend.
See ya.